Welcome everybody to the Two versus Brother podcast, also the Fantasy Football Guru podcast. Now that the league year is over, I have with me Alfredo Ramirez, Mr. No Name Team.
What's up, man? How are you, man?
I'm doing well, bro. Doing well. Having a hell of a New Year's Day after the aftermath of the triple threat heavyweight bout of Franklin, KMA, Jonathan himself, and Danny. We came out with a champion.
We sure did. It was interesting because we never had a triple threat match, and to now end up with this matchup and KMA. All the talk was about Danny, was about Franklin, and the one person that talked the least was the one who talked the most at the end with KMA with a virtuoso performance.
Yes. Basically, he let his actions speak for him. He went out there and he demolished the competition. Danny could not stop the onslaught, and it's funny because one of his favorite players pretty much destroyed him. Mister, what's this guy's name? Chris
Godwin.
Godwin. Chris Godwin, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's interesting because I was looking at KMA's team to win it all, his championship roster, and this is an example of great drafting, great waiver pickups, and someone who didn't even trade it. He didn't even make a single trade this year. And KMA, I mean, if you look at his whole roster from up down, the one that won him the championship is completely different, even the ones that started out the year. You can probably see he had his bread and butter, Josh Allen and CeeDee Lamb, but he had three players that were members of the entire team for the whole year. You mentioned Chris Godwin was one of them, gave him 15 points. Jalen Warren, who was with Steven all year long, gave him 17 points. And Gus Edwards, who was with Franklin, gave him 10 points. So each of those, I mean, is amazing, bro. It's amazing. He had a squad. Kamara gave him 5 points. Kittle gave him 4. I mean, it's amazing how KMA, rebuild and rebuild.
Yeah, it's the man. The man had bad luck in the beginning when he lost. When he lost his running back, number one first pick. Got injured pretty much. I think it was week 2. And he got hurt. But you know what? This guy rebounded. He didn't even need him because he had Mostert. He drafted Mostert. I think it was late in the round in the rounds of the draft. I think it was the 8th pick.
And I mean, I actually has his draft. I have his draft right here.
Okay,
look at his draft. First round pick, Nick Chubb, out for the year. CeeDee Lamb, Josh Allen, George Kittle. Those three were his bread and butter. Keenan Allen, last 3 weeks, he was not a part of the playoff. Damian Pierce didn't do much for him. Terry McLaurin, this guy's been in and out of his team. Actually, McLaurin was maybe the main reason why he's a champion, because going back to the first round of the playoff, he was dead in the water. The no-name team had him, and if it wasn't for Terry McLaurin, he would have probably been out of the first round. So McLaurin was there. Kamara missed the first 4 games of the year, but then he was solid throughout. Herbert was not part of his team. Kadarius Toney, not part of his team. Ezekiel Elliott ended up with Franklin. Buffalo defense, he had his Buffalo defense. Raheem Mostert, he was there the entire year until finally this week that he missed the game. But again, Curtin Sutton and the Atlanta kicker Koo. So excellent draft by KMA. But he also had injuries on it. So what do you think about that draft?
No, I think this is the best draft of anybody in the league. He drafted extremely well. I don't see anybody else in the league having a draft as he did, and it just goes to show because we were talking about Franklin in the last podcast I did with him about GOAT status. And this guy made it to the finals twice, and he won twice. Yes, there were some shenanigans that happened. The reason why he's there, but no one could have said anything about him winning. He won. That's it. This is what we have as the champion. 2 times back to back. Never happened before. Never probably will happen again. And on top of that, the first 2-time champion in the league.
So, are you confident to say that KMA is the GOAT?
No, KMA is the GOAT. That's that. Listen, I don't. Let's put. I just did a couple of things with Matthew. The Allen brothers was pretty much his bread and butter the whole year. The Allen brothers together has posted him 610 points.
Wow.
Josh Allen, the number 1 quarterback in the league, in this league that we played, 385 points. This is a guy he chose. Keenan Allen missed the last 3 games of the year and came out as 224 points, number 8 on the year. And then CeeDee Lamb, number 1 wide receiver in the whole league, 306 points. Raheem Mostert, a pick in the last few picks of the draft, 255 points, and number 2 running back, only number 2 to CMC.
Yep.
I don't see this guy. He has the only thing that he didn't do this year was trades. But at the end of the day, he didn't need to trade with anybody. His bench was stacked. His starting lineup was stacked. Anybody that had to go up against him had to pray that they could put up as much points as he did. And it's funny because KMA also I think is the number 2 in points against, and he still made it to the playoffs.
Amazing. Yeah. Actually, if you look at it, he has allowed the 2nd highest points in the league. Actually, the 3rd highest.
The 3rd
After
highest.
you, Lokokis, and then himself. Yeah. And his total points, he scored more than 100 points than the person in 2nd place, which was Franklin, for
Correct.
total points for the year. Yeah, no, let me tell you. Virtuoso performance, a masterful performance by KMA. Obviously, he was the quiet one. He was not a member of NWO. He was not a member of DX. He was just a lone wolf, and he demonstrated his greatness, man.
Yeah, no clicks that he was a part of. The man did what he needed to do. He went out there and he performed the whole year. No off days. The man, I think he never had no, actually, he did have 1 week that he was under 100 points. But that's about it.
Yeah.
At least the bar for me in this league is scoring above 100 points, because there's plenty of people that had multiple weeks that didn't score above 100 points.
Yep.
So he scored about 100 points every single year, every single game. This guy is and then plenty of them. I remember I did the math. He scores 135 point average the last few weeks leading up to the playoffs.
Amazing. It's not much. And we'll talk more about KMA when hopefully we can talk to him in the next couple of days. We're gonna interview the champion of the league. Definitely, he would love to see that one thing that you have right next to you. That he's gonna want to have it. Last year, he didn't have an opportunity to hold it. A little bit more closer to the camera, more closer to you. You can see, there you go, the trophy, and that will be in KMA's eyes. We will hopefully we can coordinate with him and present him with the trophy, and claim his greatness. So, but one more thing, before we talk about KMA, or before we finish the podcast, I do want to talk about the other team. And you know what we're going with this? The loser, Danny the Fly Vasquez. What do you have to say? Because he thought that his year, that it was everything ending his way. And like when we sang the sing, when you wish upon a star, Danny was wishing he's a champion. And then suddenly, K-May ended his dream, and he ended up in second place. Danny, the strongest team that we have ever had, Pedro, and he
Mm-hmm.
fell short. What do you have to say about Danny and him falling short, choking?
Well, the only thing that I really have to say regarding Danny the Fly Vasquez is that we've been saying it all year that his bread and butter is CMC, and it's CMC or bust. That's what it was in the beginning of the year. And just because CMC only gave him 11 points when generally everybody was expecting him to give him 20 points, 25 points, he only gave him 11 points.
Pedro, can you? It's like how fitting it was. All year long, we said C-Mac or bust. The 1 week that he couldn't afford to get hurt, he got hurt in the finals and cost Danny the title. Because there were a couple instances in the third quarter. C-Mac was giving him around, and then suddenly I think he hurt his shoulder, and then
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell ran and he even scored a touchdown. Those could have been touchdowns for Danny.
Correct.
So how fitting. C-Mac or bust?
Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely right. That was an interesting stat that somebody posted in the Guru League chat that 58% of players that have CMC made the finals, and it seems like 100% of those players most likely lost because of CMC.
But then you look at Danny's team, and he had Kyron Williams. I have here I mean Instagram from a fantasy football guru and from fantasy football what they were saying, and actually I'll put it on the face of the man who single-handedly carried you to a championship, to a fantasy championship. He scored 3 touchdowns. Who single-handedly carried you to a championship. But in this case, he didn't win it for Danny.
Oh, it's just the rest of his team did not perform. We expected that Jettis was going to go out there and and give him what he needed to win. I believe it was 30, basically 28, 30 points that Kyron Williams gave him. But those are usually CMC numbers, and we were expecting to see that, and he was expecting to see that, and it didn't come. If CMC did not get hurt, it's quite possible that we will be crowning Danny the champion, because 11 points is not a usual CMC performance. At this
No,
point,
he was on his way to have 22 points.
yeah,
He was halfway.
yeah. Like I don't have Mitchell's numbers in front of me, but I'm sure that he scored more than 11 points.
I'll tell you right now what he did. He gave him 14 points.
Yeah.
17 rushes for 80 yards and a rushing touchdown. All of that could have been for McCaffrey. 17 rushes for 80 yards.
That's crazy because think about it, 11 plus 14. And not to say that Elijah Mitchell is a scrub, he's not. But we could all say that CMC is better. So who's to say that would have been more?
Yep.
You know, I'm telling you, the only thing that I have to say when it comes to Danny is that he screwed himself up when it comes to benching his players. We mentioned it on the podcast last time he came that if he were to win, this would have been like the most masterful performance, the biggest chess move ever, to have benched his players leading up to the draft. I mean, leading up to the playoffs to face a better opponent. Even though he got screwed at the end, the man went out there and he went first round win, second round win, and then here we go in the finals. He made it to the finals, but it was not enough. He would if it would have been the way it should have been from the beginning. It would have been Danny and Franklin, and Danny would have won.
Yeah, basically, if he would have played how it was, he would have faced Franklin in the finals. and he would have been champion right now. It's interesting because he kept on saying all week that he did the best chess move ever. But you know what happened to him? He thought that by killing the queen was going to win him in chess, but he forgot that there was a king that he needed to finish, and instead the king finished him off. So checkmate too soon, Danny.
Yeah, it's like we play like I played chess in the past. He got the first check, and he pretty much automatically expected a checkmate right after,
Yeah.
and that wasn't the case. Like we spoke about this. It's Danny has a team. Even Franklin said it, that is a great
Historical
team,
team.
historically great team that was dominated by KMA. Franklin, yes, it was a triple threat match. He came in 100. I think it was 118 points he put up, but it wasn't enough to outscore him at the moment. Even with CMC scoring 11 points. You
Yeah.
know,
Look at his team. Look at Danny's team. Dak Prescott. I want this. So then we look years down the road. So he remembers the type of team that he had. Dak Prescott, Amron St. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams, Ferguson, Rice, Moody, and San Francisco defense. What do you have to say about that team?
historical great team. This is like one of the best teams ever assembled. Like I'm saying, but here we go. Here we go. Let's really look and think about the teams that we had in the finals. We had the number one best scorer in the league, KMA. The number two best scorer in the league, Franklin. And then we have another team that towards the end was built a lot on trades, C-Mac or bust, and then the reacquisition of Dak Prescott later on. And we had three juggernauts that were going into this finals matchup. A historic matchup because never before seen a triple threat.
Yep. Yep.
And if Danny would have just set his lineup and not get cute, how Steven said it, he would be champion right now.
That must really hurt. Can you imagine? Because when I lost in the finals to you, it was a blowout. But to this day, it still hurts me because, I just needed one victory. But it was a blowout, that game. I had no chance. But Danny, if he would have played his card right, if he would have put his chips where it's supposed to, he would have been champion. That must really hurt. And I don't think this is going to take him months and months to recover from this.
I said when you play a fair matchup and you go out and you do what you're supposed to do, you put all your ducks in a row. Look, Danny did very well. He went and he made trades. He drafted well. He did what he made key acquisitions with waiver wire pickups. Karen Williams was pretty much in his IR for the majority of the year. And then all he had to do was set his lineup.
That's all he needed to do.
Alfredo, if it were you and me, and we were in a similar situation, would you trust me not screw you?
I wouldn't trust you.
Of course not, because I'd screw you.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing. And you know what it is, that it was his idea that he came up to the snake
of all, the biggest snake
of all people. He came up to the snake. Everybody's telling DTS, don't trust Steven. And tell him, hey, let's do this because it may benefit us to do this if Franklin loses versus Deeds, which no one thought was going to happen. It was very unlikely that it was going to happen.
I think Danny is going to analyze himself all summer long. What if? That'll be the biggest question, Danny. What if? And right now, you have 0 chips. You're like me. We're both at 0 chips and 1 championship appearance. Well, Pedro, I think we had a very good episode. We definitely, this matchup was great.
Mm.
We're gonna hopefully the next day we'll bring in KMA. And if Danny, you're more than welcome. If you want to come into this podcast and talk about your championship, as you saw, we are fairly easy. We will not harass you. We will let you talk. We'll take it easy. But I hope you question yourself, all your decisions. You had it, bro. You had it.
No,
So
my question to Danny, if he were to come back on the podcast, is he gonna do a similar move next year?
what
Because
lesson did he learn from
what
this year?
lesson did you learn from what you've done this year?
Because let me tell you, next year we're gonna be a 12-man league. It's gonna get difficult. Then he won't be able to build that super team like he did this year. This was his chance.
Yeah.
This was his chance. He had to make sure that he didn't choke this away. And he didn't. Now he's gonna question himself all summer long.
Yes, sir.
All right, Pedro. Well, it was a pleasure having us here again. The Two Versus Brothers podcast. Hopefully, we'll have KMA in the next couple of days. And enjoy your day, man. And we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place.
All righty, Alfredo.